Hi, everyone. My name is Mariana Padilla. I am the co founder and CEO of the Hackerverse. Thank you so much for being here today. I am honored that you have chosen to attend this session. Before I go on, I'll tell you a little bit about what we're up to at Hackerverse. We are an AI driven self service POC platform specifically for cybersecurity, looking to give buyers more autonomy in the purchasing process and really helping them with the evaluation piece of things when it comes to purchasing tools. So that's what I am up to. But 2 years into building my company, I'm well known in cybersecurity, have a large contingent of allies and proponents spreading the word about what we're building. But it wasn't always this way. I was an industry outsider with no previous cybersecurity experience. So, how did I get where I am? Well, I can credit almost all of it to being a top notch networker. So, in today's session, I'll be giving you my top tips for dominating the cybersecurity networking game. So, here is an agenda of what we'll be covering. First, we'll start off with understanding what networking really is and understand why it's important. We'll go over some basic networking do's and don'ts and key insights, and I'll give you some tips for overcoming networking fears. We'll also cover LinkedIn, which has been essential to my own success. Talk about events, putting together a personal elevator pitch, and learn about maintaining connections. Lastly, I will give you some tools you can use, and then you'll put your learnings into action and connect with some of your peers here in the room or online with you today. So, as I mentioned in my introduction, networking has been absolutely essential to helping me and my company get to where we are today. But it wasn't very long ago that I actually used to feel like this little girl, how she's feeling. That's how I felt about networking. We'll talk about this later in the presentation, but it was because I was attending the wrong events and approaching it in the wrong way. However, when I put a strategy in place and started putting myself out there, I really came to enjoy the process. I've met some truly incredible people who have not only helped me grow my startup, but many I am now honored to call friends. So let's not be like this little girl. Before we continue, there's something important that I think you should know. If you're taking notes, make sure to write this down. I think it's really important. I have experience in various industries such as food service, education, nonprofit, and marketing. And from my experience, I can confidently say that networking is more crucial for long term success in this industry than in any other field I have been in. So if you're taking notes, write this down and take it to heart. In a zero trust industry, your network is your net worth. Again, in a zero trust industry, your network is your net worth. And I think that expression is a little cheesy. Your network is your net worth, but it really is. It sticks in your brain, and it's very, very true. Your ability to build trust with others and have a strong network is essential to entering and advancing in this industry. So I always like to start off this presentation with a little level setting and a couple of gifts. I do love Schitt's Creek here. Moira Rose is one of my heroes, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. But what exactly is networking? So we can start off with what it isn't. Networking isn't just for gaining employment. It's for building long term professional relationships that can benefit you throughout your career. By connecting with others, you gain access to valuable insights, advice, and potential opportunities that you might not find elsewhere. So this is one of the biggest mistakes that I think people make when it comes to networking is I need a job. I'm going to go network, and that's it. But in this, throughout this presentation, we'll be kind of debunking that and talking about some other ways that networking is valuable. We all know the statistics around the impact that networking has on employment and promotion. So if you weren't aware, now you will be. But 59% of cybersecurity job openings are filled through professional networking and referrals. Now, if you're putting out applications through application portals, Indeed.com, LinkedIn, there is a possibility that you could be hired for that job. But 60% of jobs do not get filled that way. So if you are not taking advantage of networking, if you're not leveraging networking for your next role, the odds are not in your favor. 51% of cybersecurity professionals believe that networking and building relationships are key factors in getting promoted or advancing their careers. So it's not only about getting hired, it's also about moving up the ladder in this industry. Networking is key to that. But beyond that, it's critical for our industry in other ways. 84% of cybersecurity professionals believe that sharing knowledge and best practices through networking is essential for improving cybersecurity defenses. And that's why we're all here, right? We all want to learn to become better cybersecurity professionals, better protect our companies, our workplaces, data, all those things. Networking is important for knowledge sharing and improving ourselves as an industry as a whole. Beyond that, there's some very tangible ways also that networking is critical. Cybersecurity job postings that require networking skills offer an average salary premium of 7.8% compared to those that don't. So strong networking skills can also help you get more money in your pocket, which I don't think people always realize. So now that we've confirmed that networking is critical to this space, here are some of my top do's and don'ts for networking. Above anything else, anything, authenticity is key. Be yourself, ask thoughtful questions, and show genuine interest in others. Some of the best and most fruitful conversation I've had often involve a significant amount of conversation regarding other topics. What matters is that you're able to form an emotional connection with the person you're talking to and get them interested in you as a human being. When you do this, people are far, far more likely to be invested in your success, right? So those genuine connections, connecting on a human level, making those emotional connections, when you do that, it's going to be, a great way to build those connections with people who are going to be cheering you on for the long term, and helping make the connections that will get you to the next place you want to be in your career. When you are discussing industry and your work, make sure to share your knowledge and expertise, but avoid being boastful. I know it can be a fine line. If you're questioning whether what you're saying is resonating well, find a friend who you can pitch to and tell your story and get their feedback. It's all part of the process, right? And being an open mind and being willing to learn is just a good thing to learn how to do anyway. But an important tip here also, be mindful of your airtime. If it's a one-way conversation with you hosing information at the other person, it's not going to leave a good impression. It can ultimately do more harm than good. I've been on the receiving end of this at a networking event with someone telling me all about themselves and their business and all sorts of other stuff, and I couldn't get a word in edgewise, and I tuned them out and didn't want anything to do with them, right? So just be mindful. Be mindful of what you're saying. Make sure it's a two-way street. Again, this is a conversation. Human skills, conversations involve one or more, two or more people. So make sure that it's a give and go, and that people are able to contribute to the conversation. But ultimately, my main takeaway here: be human. Emotional connection with others gets them invested in your success. If you are someone who's looking for some tips on networking, those small talk conversations, the art of conversation, here are some really great books that you can invest in. So I've always had the gift of the gab, as of my teachers throughout time will tell you. Some more annoyed than others. So this is an area in which I excel, really engaging with conversations with folks. But again, it's a learned skill that requires practice. If you're looking for some resources to get started, How to Work a Room, Susan Rohn, great book which gives some skills. And then another thing that I think people don't think about when it comes to conversation, or don't often think about, it's not top of mind maybe, is that sometimes the best conversations are you listening, right? So people love talking about themselves. If you can be an active listener and then chime in at the right moments, all of that kind of stuff, that's a great conversation. So this book by Mark Golston, Just Listen, is a great book about the art of active listening. Again, active listening is critical to any conversation. So between these two books, I think you'll have a good start for really improving the art of conversation, which is really critical to networking both online and in person. A couple of key insights. I mentioned this previously. You need to start building relationships before you need to leverage them. It's a long term game. If you're looking for a job, something happened, okay, and you're going out and saying, I'm not going to network for a job, right? You're going to have a lot more difficult time than someone who has been working to nurture their network for a long time, who has those strong relationships, who has been a participant in those conversations and those human to human connection conversations. Networking is a long game. Think about it like farming, right? Farmers are not out there planting their seeds and expecting the crops to grow overnight. Networking is a long-term game, just like farming. You need to plant those seeds. You need to nurture those plants. You need to nurture those relationships. You need to continue spending time on them so that ultimately it blossoms and flowers and grows into a strong plant or strong relationship, strong networking relationship, right? So think about networking like farming. It is not something necessarily that you're going to be able to take advantage of right away. I also strongly believe in coming with a give first attitude. Asking others how you can help builds trust and is a good first step to a strong long term relationship. Remember that it's a two-way street. Following up after interactions to nurture relationships is really, really important. Again, nurturing that plant, nurturing those relationships so you'll be able to leverage it. And I was giving this same presentation a couple months ago, and someone had the question. I'm just out of college. I don't really know what I would have to offer. Or I'm still in college. I don't really know what I would have to offer. It doesn't need to necessarily be access to your network. It could be, hey, if you're struggling to get some things done, I have an hour every week where we can co-work and work through some things together. Or if you want to bounce ideas off of me, or if you're looking to get the perspective of a younger user, I'm happy to give you those insights. You still have something valuable to offer, no matter where you are in your career. And if it's not something necessarily that someone can take advantage of, it's still it's the thought that counts. You come with the give first attitude. People know that about you. You formed that human connection, that emotional connection. You're well on your way to having long-term relationships that will help you in your professional career for a long time. Um, Lastly, don't be pushy or solely focused on getting a job. It's not always about you. Those transactional relationships get old. People get tired of those, right? So you want to be focused on quality connections for the long term. That's what this is all about. That's going to help you the most. So back to the beginning of the presentation, you'll recall I used to hate networking. I was a little girl making vomit faces. Um, One reason for this was because I wasn't networking in the right places. I was attending general mixers in my city and connecting with folks who were not going to help me get to the next stage of my professional development. Your time is precious. Show up to the right events where you will find the companies and leaders you're looking to access, right? So you need to find those events where you can connect with folks who can help get you to the next stage of your professional development. Apart from industry networking groups like Cyberjutsu, WeSys, ISSA, etc., consider attending webinars or in person events of companies who are hiring for roles that you're interested in. Many VC or venture capital investment firms also host mixers during conferences, and those can be a great way to access startup founders. So, startup founders are constantly flocking to VCs for potential investment, or there are companies who are invested in by those VC firms. There's going to be a lot of founders there. If you're interested in working in the cybersecurity startup world, check out VC mixers that happen at places like Black Hat, DEF CON, RSA. That would be a great recommendation if you're looking to get involved in the cybersecurity startup space. So one thing I hear a lot from folks is that networking makes them really nervous. It used to make me really nervous. I broke out in a cold sweat just thinking about it. I felt awkward. It felt icky. All those kinds of things. I don't feel like that at all now. It's actually one of my favorite things to do. But one of the things I recommend is the Networking RX podcast, Networking Prescription podcast. They are short, actionable stories and insights to help you improve your networking game. Each episode is about 7 minutes and includes a tangible story with some takeaways. I will also just mention that just like anything else, networking is a skill that you need to continuously work on and improve. The more you flex that muscle, the more you practice it, the better you will become at it. Hence the little muscle graphic. It's a muscle that needs to be, worked. All right. So up next, we're talking about LinkedIn. This isn't a presentation about LinkedIn, but they are related. Your digital profile is incredibly important. So here are some must-haves for your LinkedIn profile. You must have a background banner image for the top. If you do not have that, your profile looks incomplete, looks unprofessional. There's some options that you can choose from that LinkedIn provides, or you can go into Canva and easily create a custom image. Throw some text on there that helps people understand who you are and who you are and what you're about really quickly and easily. So Canva, great option there. I'm sure you could find something AI generated as well. Make sure you have a custom URL. So LinkedIn.com / blah, 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 your name, your title, your whatever you want to have that be. Make sure you have a custom URL instead of a bunch of random numbers and letters to make it easy for people to remember that. So you'll just go into your LinkedIn settings and is where you'll find that. If you have trouble, just give it a quick Google search and you should be able to quickly find some directions. And then lastly, a professional headshot. As recruiters will tell you, there's really nothing worse than having a really unprofessional headshot, cropped out of a photo from college or a wedding photo or whatever. It needs to look like you do today, and make sure it's professional. So lots of options there. So I know they were doing headshots at RSA, free headshots at RSA. You can have some AI generated headshots. Look for pop-ups from photographers will sometimes do single day headshot pop-ups. Sometimes they'll have them at events. So options there to get it done cheaply or for, free costs. You don't need to spend money to get that done, but it is important that you have a headshot that is representative of what you look like today. And then this is the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to LinkedIn. They set it up and they never use it. Huge mistake. Once your profile is set up, use it. Personal brands matter in 2024. Before coming into the cybersecurity field, I actually worked in marketing. We talked a lot about personal branding. Your personal brand is very, very important. Your LinkedIn profile and presence represent who you are as a professional. So make sure your LinkedIn is working for you and not against you. So here are the best ways you can leverage LinkedIn. Contribute to collaborative articles, start a newsletter, or use the streaming features. These are all three great ways that you can use to demonstrate your cybersecurity knowledge. If you have a newsletter about hot topics in DLP and data loss prevention, cool, great. If that's your background and expertise, start a newsletter, start a podcast, a video streaming podcast. But the more you're utilizing these features to demonstrate your thought leadership, excellent stuff there. You can join some of the LinkedIn cybersecurity groups through LinkedIn. I am in part of a couple, so I have my LinkedIn QR code available at the end so you can scan to connect with me and also find some of the groups that I am part of. It's a great way also to connect with hiring managers, to hear about jobs, to engage with other folks in the industry. I actually don't have it on the slide, and we can also talk about some of the external groups as well later in the presentation. Really important, not only having the profile, but engaging with other people's content. The LinkedIn algorithm knows when you're online, it knows when you're engaging with other people's content, it knows when you're utilizing the features. The more you do these things, engage, post, the more your profile will be shown to others, the more your content will be shown to others. So engage with other people's content. This can also be a way to open the door to further conversation, right? So if you're consistently engaging with someone who's a cybersecurity evangelist with their content, you can then shoot them a DM and tell them how much you're enjoying it and potentially schedule a virtual coffee, which is the next thing on this list. Virtual coffees are kind of what I'm known for. It's kind of my thing. And I highly encourage you to make it your thing. Once you have connected with someone on LinkedIn, what I'll do is I will often reach out regarding doing an introductory Zoom call. I'll send them a message, say, hey, I've really been enjoying your content. I see the good work you're doing in this space. I'd love to chat with you about your journey in cybersecurity. I also specifically say that I'm not trying to sell them anything. And then most of the time, people are really happy to chat. And during those conversations, we'll chat about anything and everything, including dogs, including sci-fi. Again, it doesn't need to necessarily be specifically about cybersecurity. I'm going to keep reiterating this. It's about forming those human connections. It's about making those emotional connections. It's about forming those long-lasting relationships and nurturing them for the long term so that you can have these connections with folks who can help support your professional development in the long term. I had over 400 folks in 2023 take me up on the offer for virtual coffee. And from that, I was able to build relationships with CISOs, ethical hackers, investors, journalists, recruiters, and so many more. Virtual coffees have been one of my favorite parts of my job and have been integral to the success of my startup. Introductory conversations often lead to introductions to customers and other investors. So just like with anything else, you get out what you put in, and the more you put into your LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn community, the more it will continue to bear fruit. Again, I come from a marketing background. I truly believe in the power of a strong personal brand, and for our industry specifically, LinkedIn and somewhat YouTube are going to be critical to helping you build that strong personal brand. All right, conquering events. Victory. Yes, victory. That's our goal here, victory. We all know the importance of in-person or online events, just like this one that you're attending today. So keep up the good work. I don't need to tell you the importance of attending these. You're already here. But for those who maybe will watch this who'll be watching this later, it is very important that you attend these events as often as you possibly can. Understanding budgetary constraints, but attending things like DEF CON, Black Hat, RSA, Diana Initiative, the WESIS conference are incredible opportunities to connect with other folks. And here are some of my top tips. So there are numerous strategies for making the most of these events, but I always start by researching the speakers and panelists beforehand. Obviously, there's lots of those at RSA. I tried to get through as much of the list as I possibly could. And what I actually did was connected with them on LinkedIn. But knowing a bit about the other attendees and panelists is helpful. That way, if you meet them at the event, it gives you some background knowledge about them. You're already connected on LinkedIn. You can say things like, hey, we're connected on LinkedIn, looking forward to your discussion, or just saw your discussion, we're connected on LinkedIn, would love to continue the conversation. Again, we're looking for ways to make it easier to open the door for conversation and building that human connection, right? So, as I mentioned, I connected with a lot of the RSA speakers before RSA, had them on the podcast, built those relationships, and now I'm kind of starting to see the fruit bearing from those relationships that I started at RSA. Let's see. Also important. Here we go. Also important. Make sure you have an elevator pitch ready to go. So that is what we're going to be discussing on the next slide here. So what makes a good elevator pitch? Here are the essential elements. If you're writing down notes, I also think this is super important to write down here too. Keep it concise and engaging, 30-second max. Again, what I said earlier, you don't want to be hosing someone down with information. There's part of our brain called the croc piece of our brain, which we can only process and keep a certain amount of information. If someone's hosing you down with information, you're going to start filtering it out. That is exactly what you do not want to do. You want to keep it memorable. You want to keep it short. You want to tell your story in the best way possible so people remember you. Share your background in career goals. Highlight relevant skills and achievements. And as I mentioned, tell people how you can add values to others. When you have that give first mentality, it forms that emotional connection. It makes you memorable. It makes people want to help you. It keeps people by your side for the long term, and it helps them become allies in your success. And then one thing I also think is really important here is to share with others to ensure clarity. One of the things I always do when I'm getting ready for a pitch competition, if I'm pitching something, I need to tell the story. I get my mom involved. She's not technical. Microsoft Word is a challenge. Let's be completely honest. Opening up the iPhone also sometimes a challenge. And why do I do this? Because I want to make sure that I'm telling the story in the best way possible. I'm thinking specifically about pitch competitions here, but sometimes the judges may or may not have a background in cybersecurity. So I want to make sure that I'm not losing them. So if I'm able to tell the story and Pat, my mom, can understand it, then that is a good pitch. I have told the story effectively. I have made it memorable. I've helped people understand easily what it is that I do. Too much information can be overwhelming, so keep it short, share your background and career goals, highlight your relevant skills and achievements, and mention how you can add value to others. So after making these initial connections, there is a critical step that people often overlook. Follow up. Follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. There is a lot of networking that goes on at conferences or even online. Sometimes I forget that I've chatted with someone. I forget that we're connected. If there's a person you've talked to that could be a valuable connection for you, follow up with them to schedule some additional time to chat. I've mentioned that these deeper connections with folks will be the most valuable for you for the long term. But beyond that, you need to be top of mind. In today's attention deficit world, it's important to stay top of mind because it's critical to ensure that you're the first person that comes to mind when someone is seeking recommendations for an employee, a speaker, a consultant, or a founder to invest in. So if someone, you've been working hard, you planted the seeds of those relationships, you have been nurturing them, you have been engaging with these people, you're going to be top of mind when someone says, hey, are there any cool startups that I should know about to invest in? Oh yeah, I was just talking about and thinking about blah, blah, blah. Hey, do you know a SOC manager for this role? Oh yeah, I was just thinking about and talking to so and so and so and so. So that is the goal. And that is why it is so important to continue that follow up, because you want to be top of mind. Again, it's those referrals and that professional network that will get you in the door and get you promoted. And the best way to do that is to be top of mind. So I'm going to quickly cover webinars. So some of the ways you can make the most of these events: engage with polls and Q&A features, connect with the speaker or host on LinkedIn, share your insights on social media, and start a conversation. I said this previously. It's looking for those little opportunities to start conversations and open the door to bigger connections. People love that when you talk about the work that they've done. People love talking about their work. So if you're engaging on social media, talking about what you learned from this incredible event, it can be a great way to open the door to conversation with those panelists, those hosts, all those, or even the company who hosted the webinar, right? So if you're looking for a job, attend these webinars, attend these Q&A sessions, ask questions about it, get engaged with the folks who are on the panel discussion. It can be an easy and quick way to gain access to those companies. Again, firing off applications into the dark void of Indeed.com or LinkedIn, not exactly the best way to get in the door, and this can be a backdoor, if you will. So a couple tips and tools here. I think it's really important to have a spreadsheet or a way of keeping track of all the connections and meetings that you have. I keep track of the dates, the people that I met with, keep some notes. And why this is important, not only to remember the context of the conversations, but then you can go back into your spreadsheet. Oh yeah, I talked to this person 3 months ago. I want to follow up with them and see how they're doing. I want to follow up and continue to hear more about what they're up to. Or I saw that they're doing something cool on LinkedIn. Maybe they're interested in learning more about what I'm doing because there is a connection there. So it's an easy way to continue nurturing that relationship. We're thinking about relationships as these plants continue to grow. The ongoing conversation is the water and the sunlight that is going to help that plant and that relationship grow. So keeping track of that in a spreadsheet is an easy way to do that. Very tangible, tactical stuff here. Have a scheduling tool for easy meeting setup. There are lots of free options like Google or Calendly. You can get Calendly to have one meeting setup time for free. So it's just something that makes it easy for people to set up those 15, 20, 30-minute individual calls with you. And then lastly, here's a question that I really wish that I had been asking earlier on in my professional career, but ask the question, who else should I be talking to? Sometimes when you're on a call with someone, you're on a networking call, you're talking to someone at a conference, maybe they're not the best person to be talking to, but they might know someone who is. And it might, spur, an introduction to this person who can be super helpful. So again, even if the person that you're talking to may not be provide the best network, or it may not be the right person to be talking to, they may know someone who is. So make sure that you're always asking the question, who else should I be talking to? So just a couple more slides here. Some of the big takeaways from the presentation today. Networking in this industry isn't optional. We talked about how in a zero trust industry, you have to have that trust with others in this space. Networking is not optional. We talked about the statistics around who gets hired and who gets promoted and making more money because you have the ability to network. So if you're thinking, well, I don't know if I should do this or not, it's not optional. I'm sorry to tell you, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. And that is why we're here today. I also like to think about the network effects of networking. But opening doors opens doors, right? Again, just on the last slide, thinking about who should I be talking to. Once you have talked to someone, you have access to them and their network. You never know who that person might know, right? So having that conversation, having that relationship can open doors to others who can be beneficial to you. Keep showing up and be yourself. We talked about the power of authentic conversation, building those human connections, forming that emotional connection with someone, so they're interested and invested in your success. And that is the power of authenticity. And you just need to keep showing up. And on that, similar to that, networking is a muscle that needs to be trained in order to get better at it. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'm just so terrible at this, That's okay. We all need to start somewhere, right? We don't start off life as professionals in everything that we do. So the more you do it, the easier that it will become. And then lastly, here on these big takeaways is that LinkedIn is a great tool when used properly. So make sure that you have your profile set up correctly. You have those professional headshots. You have those banner images in the background. You are using the platform. You are demonstrating your knowledge. You're contributing to articles and podcasts and videos and showcasing how well you know your stuff. A personal brand in 2024 is not optional. It can be a great way to get you hired. You want to make it easy for when recruiters or others come to your page to understand what it is that you do, how well you do it, and the easier you can do that on your LinkedIn page and make that easy for others to find, the better the outcome will be for you. Something to consider here. For such a big industry, cybersecurity is still a very small world. Why do I have this on here? A couple reasons. Opening doors, open doors. When you have access to someone's network, they may have someone in their network who you need to be talking to, who would be extremely valuable for you and your professional development. On the same token, other side of the coin here, word gets around when you burn bridges. I've heard this from investors, from recruiters, from folks, but people talk when you're not super professional, or you burn a bridge when you're turned down, or things like that. So just understand it's always important to be professional, leverage relationships in the right way. Don't take advantage of people. Don't burn bridges. All of those kinds of things, because at the end of the day, it is a small world. People talk, and you don't want that to have that be your professional representation in the space when reputation in the space when you work so hard to get where you are. So before we put things into practice, here is my QR code. Please feel free to scan it. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Take me up on my offer for virtual coffee. Happy to connect with you and schedule time to chat. Also, please let me know what you found this to be most helpful from this presentation. Shoot me an email, mariana@hackerverse.ceo, or send me a DM on LinkedIn. If there's something specific that you would like to see in the presentation, also open to that feedback as well, because this is about you and what is most helpful for the audience. So if there's something that you think was missing, totally open to that feedback. But let's put it into practice. So we have about 25 minutes left. What I'd love for you to do is to find someone. There's a couple different things you can choose from here. If you're online, you connect with someone in the chat, but find someone in the room and practice your elevator pitch with each other. Again, 30 seconds, highlighting your goals, your accomplishments, ways you can give back. I can go back to that slide real quick. Elevator pitch. Share your background and career goals. Highlight relevant skills and achievements, and mention how you can add value to others. One thing I wanted to touch on here that I forgot to mention earlier is that I gave this presentation a while back, and it was someone in school who didn't think they, had much to offer in terms of value to others because they didn't have a big network. They're just entering the space. It could just be, bouncing ideas off of each other. It could be, scheduling time an hour a week to co-work and get some things done that you've been procrastinating on. So there's a lot of different ways that you can provide value, even if you don't have the biggest network or a ton of experience in the space. So again, this is your elevator pitch. So a couple options here. Find someone in the room and practice your elevator pitch with each other. Connect with 2 people on LinkedIn. And schedule a virtual coffee with someone you just met today. So as we close out this session, I will leave this up here. Make sure you're putting these skills into practice, because this is not something hypothetical. This is not something that needs to live in the closet. This is something you can put into practice today, and I highly encourage you to do so that you can start building those connections, growing your network, and becoming the strong and established professional in the cybersecurity space that we all want to be. So thank you so much for your time today. Again, my name is Mariana Padilla, co-founder and CEO of the Hackerverse, and I hope to see you around. Thank you.